can you get both of us in the screen, or where are we? Both in?
Yeah, we're both on the screen, but we will be shortly.
Okay.
And, oh, hey guys, it's Nick and Bryan. We're doing a catch up in the Budget Home studio. Nick's just come around for a cuppa and said it's time we let the boys in the UK, Wales.
Say hello to you.
Yeah, and so this is our hello. We apologise for not doing this sooner, and this is only going to be a very short one as well, because Nick's just paying a fleeting visit.
Yeah, I was just sort of sent out on a mission to capture that great bloody exponent of international trade, raw coffee. You know, all the way from Kenya and Ethiopia and Mexico and places like that, and have it ground up, take it home for the wife who insists on the stuff. So that's why I'm here.
We've had this amazing conversation, and we can't get all the detail of our conversation into this little, but we were talking about what we talk about on our Hidden Reality, guys.
Yeah, we were actually talking about various events which have gone on, and Bryan had been reading some original translations of the book of Luke, and I was talking about, you know, my early exposure as a secondary school boy to John Wycliffe and the Lollards, and other wonderful people like William Tyndall, and the conversation went from there into Luther and back into the Book of Enoch and various other places. So.
We've been right around the traps, but I just got to say, as I was saying to Nick, and I'll get around to saying it to you guys, that the Gospel according to St. Luke I have found incredibly challenging, and it is absolutely loaded with the hard sayings of Jesus. And as I was explaining to Nick, Jesus was pretty uptight at times. He got very angry at situations.
Yeah, I was doing the throw the table over thing, you know, get rid of the money lenders from the temple, that kind of stuff, you know.
And he was losing his rag. He was invited home for a meal with the Pharisee, and he had hardly sat down, and they were getting a bit critical with him because he hadn't washed his hands, and he turned on them and bit them really hard.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is a guy who, honestly, I think, if you haven't, Justin, been looking at the Gospel of St. Luke, I think you've got to. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah. We also had a bit of a disagreement in terms of how we thought people would respond, because we were talking about, there have been some Ethiopians down at the coffee place I've been, and they're the taxi drivers who our government brought in years back, said, you know, come over here, we'll give you jobs as taxi drivers and you'll integrate into Kiwi society. And of course, you know, they don't. It's very difficult for them, not only lingually and culturally, but they're Islamic, and yeah, it just doesn't work in the same way as you have. And I had this sort of expression that, you know, when a group of people within a society actually take the offensive against a society, that the society itself, no matter how fragmented, would in effect say no, fuck it at some stage, and they would all object. And Bryan said no, didn't you, Bryan? You reckon they would be too passive, too fragmented?
No, what I was wondering was whether actually people would want to actually go and fight in a war now. So I think I'm going to concede to the point that Nick was saying. I don't think we were disagreeing, we were just talking slightly differently.
Yeah.
But just on the point that Nick was making, and you guys talk about it in the UK a lot, and we're all very careful because we have to be politically sensitive and correct. We're not so on our Hidden Reality, but we bear in mind that what we say in secret could easily become made public and open. So, however, having said that, we had a Prime Minister that brought a whole lot of those sand people here to New Zealand and Wellington, and I have to say, I think it's a good example of, you know, cultures that are just not doing so well at mixing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have nothing in common down here in the South Pacific with the sand people of Northern Africa and various places where refugees have come from.
Yeah, we have a very large Polynesian population come into New Zealand, but the one thing which has been sort of you know, redeeming about it on a comparative basis to your scenario is that they were all you know, basically Christians. That the early missionaries that got to the islands a couple of hundred years ago, And so we didn't have a religious problem in the middle of a cultural issue. And so we're not really in the same sort of scenario in that respect.
But we did have a class problem, and we didn't want to admit to
Always,
it.
yeah.
And I mean, they brought in the Polynesians, the Samoans and the Fijians as cheap labour in this country. And so, you know, we've done some really, you know, not particularly nice things, and we don't like it being, you know, drawn to our attention. But anyway, I've got to just say, we can't keep this video going because we've got other things we have to do.
Yeah, we really just want to say hello to you all.
And we are. And we're saying hello, and we love you guys to bits. And we are looking at a different kind of perspective. And Justin and Dave, we don't share mainstream Christian views at all. And I guess you guys have worked that out anyway.
Yeah.
So
in case you're sort of wondering where I'm at, I'm an avowed sort of non-believer, but I'm a great follower of St. Francis and his principles on life. You know, I don't think you have to be religious to do that. He was just a very ethical man.
yeah.
So, you know.
And the other thing about Nick is he's incredibly curious.
Yeah,
So
it's a horrible thing.
We're going to go now, guys.
How's that? See ya.